One underestimating him was a mistake. His fury shocked everyone. Elias Kane walked quietly through the corridors of the Aurora's edge, his footsteps echoing softly against the polished metal floor. The starship hummed with life, a symphony of machines and alien voices, but he moved like a shadow, unnoticed. Most of the crew barely gave him a second glance. To them, he was just the human engineer, the quiet one who repaired broken circuits and recalibrated engines, never the hero they imagined in the stories the aliens told about their own species. They underestimated him, and Elias had long ago grown used to it. He paused at the observation deck and looked out at the swirling colors of a nearby nebula. The stars seemed to dance, and he allowed himself a small smile. He loved space, its vastness, and the way it reminded him of how small he truly was, and yet how much potential a single mind could hold. Humans were often dismissed in the Galactic Alliance, weak, fragile, prone to mistakes. But Elias had always believed that humans were underestimated for a reason. Their greatest strengths were invisible until tested. The bridge crew, mostly aliens of towering stature and multicolored scales, were busy with their consoles, issuing commands and reading displays. Captain Virin, a tall, gray-skinned Zalarian with narrow eyes, looked up briefly as Elias approached. "Kane, the engines are stable?" she asked, her tone carrying the usual mixture of impatience and condescension. "Yes, Captain," Elias replied. "I've checked the core output and recalibrated the secondary stabilizers. Everything is operating at peak efficiency." She nodded, barely acknowledging the effort. To her and the others, Elias' work was routine, almost invisible. They did not realize that routine could save lives when the unexpected arrived. "Good," she said, turning back to the main console. "We have arrived at the survey coordinates for the Viridian cluster. Prepare for planetary scan." Elias moved to the adjacent console, his hands flying over the controls. His mind was not just following commands. It was analyzing, predicting, and observing. Something in the Viridian cluster did not feel right. The planet they were approaching was surrounded by faint energy readings, subtle distortions in the magnetic field that the standard scanners barely registered. Most of the crew would have dismissed it, but Elias' instincts tingled. He adjusted the sensors, sharpening the scans, and his eyes widened slightly. The structures on the planet's surface were not natural. They had perfect geometric patterns, lines and angles that no known natural formation could produce. Even more intriguing, faint energy signals pulsed from within, almost like a heartbeat. "Captain," he said, keeping his voice calm, "I believe there's something on the planet. I'm picking up artificial structures and a consistent energy signature. It may be intelligent life." Captain Virin glanced at him, her eyes narrowing. "Are you sure? The cluster is uncharted and mostly empty space. We are here for mineral surveys, not alien encounters." "I am certain," Elias said. "The readings are too precise to be natural. I suggest caution." The captain frowned, her fingers tapping against the console impatiently. "Very well, but keep it discreet. We cannot afford to waste resources chasing shadows." Elias nodded, knowing he had been heard but not truly considered. He turned back to the observation deck, watching the planet grow larger in the viewport. He felt a familiar surge of determination. Humans had survived against countless odds on Earth, against predators, disasters, and each other. In this galaxy, he would ensure they were no longer dismissed. The first scan probes were launched, skimming the upper atmosphere of the planet. The readings confirmed Elias' suspicions. The structures were massive, perfectly symmetrical, and partially cloaked with an energy field that distorted traditional sensors. The energy pulses were not random, they followed a pattern. Someone or something was signaling. "Captain, the structures emit a patterned energy pulse," Elias reported. "It seems intentional. It could be a warning or a message." Virin waved a hand. "Send a drone. Let's not risk the crew until we know more." As the drone descended, a shadow moved across the planet's surface. Elias' heart skipped a beat. The shadow was fast, intelligent, and aware. Whatever lived here had technology, strategy, and perhaps the power to destroy them if provoked. He turned to the communications officer, a four-armed alien named Tirak. "We should attempt to establish contact before proceeding further. They may not be hostile, but we cannot take that risk lightly." Tirak shrugged. "That's above your pay grade, human. We follow orders." Elias clenched his jaw but said nothing. Words often fell on deaf ears with those who believed themselves superior. He had learned patience. Observation, planning, and patience was a weapon humans wielded better than anyone else. Hours passed. The drone transmitted images of vast crystalline towers, their surfaces refracting the planet's twin suns into blinding arrays of color. The energy pulses intensified, responding to the drone's presence. Then, almost imperceptibly, the shadows multiplied. Figures emerged from behind the towers, tall, angular beings with reflective exoskeletons. They watched the drone, and it was clear they were assessing, calculating. "Captain, they are aware of the drone," Elias said. "They are intelligent and highly cautious. I recommend we maintain a safe distance and avoid aggressive moves." Viren finally looked at him, her expression unreadable. "Noted. Keep your human observations to yourself. We will follow the standard protocol." Elia's lips pressed into a thin line, but he obeyed. The ship hovered in orbit, silent but tense. He studied the alien beings, noting the way they moved, how they reacted to the drone. Every detail mattered. Humans had a saying, prepare for the worst, hope for the best. That was what he was doing, silently, methodically. Night fell over the planet, though the twin suns never fully disappeared. The crystalline towers reflected starlight, making the surface glitter like a field of jewels. Elias felt a strange mix of awe and unease. Whoever lived here was not merely intelligent. They were deliberate, disciplined, and powerful. Suddenly, the ship's sensors detected a spike in energy from one of the towers. It pulsed in rapid succession, unlike the previous pattern. Elia's heart raced. "Captain, the pulse is accelerating. It may indicate activation of some defense mechanism or communication system." Viren frowned. "Is it a threat?" "I cannot say for certain," Elias replied, "but it is best to prepare for immediate action. If this is a defense system, it could be devastating. The humans, our crew, could be in danger." Orders were given to ready the ship's shields and defensive systems. Alien crew members scurried to their stations, their confidence masking a growing tension. Elias moved to the engine console, quietly recalibrating power distribution. A subtle adjustment here, a minor rerouting there. He was preparing for contingencies that none of the aliens even considered. Then the first warning came. A pulse of energy shot from the tower, striking the upper atmosphere of the planet. The ship trembled, alarms blaring. "Shields at 50%, Tirac shouted, panic rising in his voice. Elia's fingers flew over the controls. "Divert full power to shields and engines. Maintain orbit at 20 kilometers. Do not panic. Follow my lead." The alien crew hesitated, their eyes wide as Elias issued precise commands. Within moments, the ship stabilized, the shields absorbing the brunt of the energy. Elias felt a small surge of satisfaction. No one had expected him to react so quickly, but humans thrived under pressure. Viren finally spoke, her voice tight with a mix of awe and frustration. "Kane, you anticipated that?" Elias nodded. "I observed the pulse pattern and adjusted the ship's systems accordingly. They are testing us. Whoever lives there is deliberate, strategic. They will continue unless we respond intelligently." For the first time, some of the crew looked at him differently. The quiet human they had dismissed was proving his worth in real time. The tower pulsed again, this time multiple beams striking toward the ship. Elia's mind raced, analyzing trajectories, energy outputs, and potential weaknesses. He recalculated, adjusted, and directed the ship's engines with precision. The Aurora's edge weaved through the energy streams, taking minimal damage, while the shields redistributed power automatically under his guidance. Hours passed like minutes. The alien observers on board began to whisper, their skepticism giving way to respect. Elias did not notice. He was focused, every sense attuned to the threats around him. Humans had a saying, "It is not the size of the opponent that matters, but the mind that guides the hand." He lived by it, and the universe was about to learn the truth. Finally, the energy pulses stopped. Silence fell over the ship. Elias exhaled slowly, checking systems and crew morale. The aliens were shaken but unharmed. Elias allowed himself a small smile. This was only the beginning. The planet was full of secrets, and whoever underestimated humans had made a grave mistake. As the Aurora's edge settled into a stable orbit, Elias stared at the towers below. He could feel it, the intelligence, the challenge, the opportunity. This planet was not just a mission. It was a proving ground, and humans, underestimated as they were, would rise to meet it. He returned to the observation deck and looked at the stars stretching infinitely ahead. Somewhere out there, the galaxy underestimated him and his species, but that would not last long. Elias Kane had patience, skill, and a mind sharper than any alien blade. And soon, the universe would see that underestimating a human was a mistake. The calm that had settled over the Aurora's edge was deceptive. Elias Kane knew better than anyone that the silence of the stars often hid dangers more terrifying than noise. As the crew went about their routine maintenance and post-scan checks, the subtle tension in the air was palpable. Even the usually confident Captain Virin moved with an edge of caution. Something about the Viridian cluster had shifted. The alien towers on the planet below were no longer passive. Their energy pulses had taken on a pattern that was almost rhythmic, deliberate, like a heartbeat counting down to an event that the humans and aliens had yet to understand. Elias stood by the observation deck, scanning the instruments. Every reading screamed alert, but the alien crew continued their routine as if nothing was amiss. It frustrated him. Patience was a virtue, but sometimes inaction was a death sentence. He noticed a new pattern emerging, a faint but unmistakable increase in energy discharge from the towers, moving in calculated bursts that suggested a larger system was coming online. "Captain," Elias said, his voice cutting through the low hum of the ship. "The energy pulses, they're accelerating. This is not random. I believe they are preparing for something, perhaps defensive measures or an attack." Virin turned sharply, her eyes narrowing. "Are you suggesting they will attack us?" "Not necessarily," Elias replied. "But we must assume the worst. Their systems are too complex and coordinated to be harmless. If they perceive us as a threat, we could be in danger." The captain frowned. She had been dismissive of Elias in the past, but now the tension in his voice was undeniable. "Prepare the ship, shields up, weapons on standby, and all personnel at alert stations. But do not provoke them." Elias nodded and moved quickly to the engineering console. He began recalibrating the power grid, rerouting energy to critical systems, ensuring that the shields could withstand multiple hits simultaneously. Every adjustment was subtle, precise, and nearly invisible to those who didn't understand the inner workings of the Aurora's edge. Minutes later, a sudden flash of light illuminated the observation deck. The energy pulses had intensified, converging into a concentrated beam directed toward the ship. Alarms blared, and the crew rushed to their stations. "Shields at 30%, Tirak shouted, panic lacing his voice. "They are firing." Elia's fingers moved with practiced precision across the console. "Divert power to forward shields. Increase engine output by 20%. Adjust vector by 2 degrees starboard. Stay calm and follow my instructions exactly." The ship shuddered violently as the energy beam struck. Sparks flew from the side consoles, and several crew members stumbled, their confidence replaced by fear. Yet under Elia's guidance, the Aurora's edge began to maneuver with precision, dodging the brunt of the attack while the shields absorbed the rest. Virin's jaw tightened as she watched Elia's calm efficiency. "Kane, how did you know exactly how to counter that?" she asked, almost in disbelief. "I analyzed the pulse frequency and trajectory patterns," Elias explained. "It is a defensive system, likely automated. I predicted its targeting sequence and adjusted accordingly. We are lucky they are not more aggressive." The captain's expression softened slightly, a rare moment of respect for the human who had so often been underestimated. Around them, the crew murmured, some openly acknowledging Elia's skill for the first time. As the immediate threat subsided, the ship's sensors picked up multiple incoming objects from the planet's surface. Small, fast-moving drones, sleek and metallic, surged toward the Aurora's edge in coordinated waves. Elia's eyes narrowed. The towers were not merely defensive, they were offensive. The aliens below had underestimated him, but he would ensure they learned the consequences. "Captain," Elias said, moving toward the tactical console, "these drones are intelligent, not random. They will adapt to our maneuvers. If we do not respond strategically, they will overwhelm us." Virin hesitated, then gave the order. "Deploy countermeasures." Elias calculated the angles and trajectories faster than anyone else could. Using the ship's limited resources, he initiated a series of electromagnetic pulses that disrupted the drone's guidance systems. Several of them spun out of control and crashed onto the planet below. "Impressive," Virin admitted reluctantly. "But they are still coming." Elia's mind raced. The drones were not just attacking, they were testing. They wanted to understand the ship's defenses to find weaknesses, and Elias, ever observant, saw an opportunity. Using the drone's patterns against them, he devised a trap. He maneuvered the Aurora's edge in a seemingly erratic path, drawing the drones into a narrow corridor of space, where the ship's newly enhanced pulse cannons could target them with devastating precision. One by one, the drones were neutralized, their metallic bodies spinning harmlessly in space. The alien crew stared in awe. The humans, thought to be weak and fragile, had just outmaneuvered and destroyed a superior technological force using nothing but ingenuity and calculated risk. Yet Elias did not allow himself pride. There was still the planet below, still the unknown threat. He continued scanning, analyzing every pulse, every energy fluctuation. And then he saw it, a massive figure emerging from the crystalline towers, moving with deliberate purpose. The alien being was taller than any of the Xylarian crew, its exoskeleton glinting with energy. It commanded the drones, coordinating their every movement. "They're not alone," Elias said quietly. "There's a leader down there controlling the defense systems directly." Viren's eyes widened. "We need a plan. They outnumber us, and that thing looks unstoppable." Elias shook his head. "Numbers mean nothing without strategy. We have mobility, intelligence, and adaptability. We need to exploit their patterns, predict their actions, and strike where they least expect it." The captain nodded, realizing that Elia's quiet demeanor hid a mind sharper than any she had encountered. She gave the order to maintain orbit but allow Elias to direct defensive maneuvers. The next wave of drones attacked with greater precision, but Elias was ready. He anticipated every move, guiding the ship with a combination of logic and instinct. The alien leader below adapted quickly, forcing Elias to think several steps ahead. Each adjustment, each calculated risk, kept the Aurora's edge safe, but the tension in the ship was electric. Hours passed. The battle had no grand explosions like in human fiction. It was a war of precision, of calculated moves, of intellect against intellect. Every crew member, alien and human alike, began to recognize the brilliance of Elias Kane. He was not just a human. He was a strategist, a thinker, a force that could rival the mightiest in the galaxy. Finally, the alien leader halted the drone attacks. The pattern shifted, a message in energy pulses that was almost unreadable but unmistakable. Elias studied it closely and understood. It was not surrender. It was a challenge, a test. The alien species wanted to see what humans were truly capable of. Elias allowed himself a moment to breathe. The Aurora's edge was intact, the crew shaken but unharmed, and the humans' reputation had begun to change in the eyes of their alien companions. He knew, however, that this was only the beginning. The challenge would continue and the stakes would grow higher. He turned to the captain. "They are testing us. We have survived the first encounter, but they will escalate. We must be prepared for anything." Viren nodded slowly, her respect for Elias evident. "You have proven yourself today, Kane. Perhaps we underestimated humans too much." Elias said nothing, letting his actions speak louder than words. There was no time for pride. In the galaxy, respect was earned through deeds, not titles, and he intended to earn it fully. As the Aurora's edge maintained orbit, Elias gazed at the alien towers, glimmering against the twin suns. They were not invincible, but they were formidable. And he knew one thing with absolute certainty. The humans aboard this ship, underestimated as they were, had the power to defy expectations. He returned to the engineering bay, checking systems, recalibrating energy outputs, and preparing for the inevitable next move. Every adjustment, every calculation, was a step toward proving that humans were not weak, not fragile, not to be dismissed. Below, the planet pulsed with energy, the alien leader observing, waiting. Above, Elias Kane and his human companions prepared, ready to face whatever came next. The battle had only begun, but one truth was clear. Underestimating a human was a mistake, and the galaxy would soon learn the consequences of that error. Hours turned into a night of tense vigilance. The alien crew whispered among themselves, their voices carrying a mixture of awe and fear. Elias walked among them quietly, offering guidance, reassurance, and strategy. They had begun to see that humans were not just passengers. They were thinkers, innovators, and perhaps, when pushed to the brink, something far more dangerous than any alien could imagine. As the twin suns of the Viridian cluster rose again, casting light on the crystalline towers, Elias stood at the observation deck. He looked at the stars beyond and felt a quiet surge of determination. The universe might have doubted humanity, might have laughed at their supposed fragility, but he would show them the truth. Humans were more than they seemed. They were unpredictable, resourceful, and unstoppable when driven by necessity. The alien leader below remained unseen but sensed. Its energy pulses shifted subtly, acknowledging that the humans, small and seemingly insignificant, were far more dangerous than anticipated. Elias did not yet know the full extent of the challenge ahead, but he welcomed it. Every obstacle was an opportunity, every enemy a lesson, and every moment a chance to prove that humans were not to be underestimated. For Elias Kane, the quiet engineer who walked unnoticed through the corridors of the Aurora's edge, the first battle had been won not through sheer force, but through intellect, precision, and courage. And he knew the galaxy would never see humanity the same way again. The Aurora's edge drifted in orbit above the alien planet, silent except for the hum of engines and the faint chatter of the crew. The first wave of attacks had passed, but Elias Kane knew this was only a prelude. The towers below pulsed with energy, as if the planet itself were alive, preparing for a more calculated strike. The alien leader, whatever it was intelligent, patient, and methodical. It had tested them once, and now it would test them again. Elias walked through the corridors of the ship, observing the crew. Some of the aliens were visibly shaken, their usual arrogance tempered by the realization that humans were far more capable than they had believed. Others were whispering in hushed tones, speculating on Elias' strategies, trying to understand how a quiet engineer could have outmaneuvered drones designed to destroy an entire fleet. He entered the main control room and approached Captain Virin. "We've survived the first wave," he said, "but the enemy will not stop. They are intelligent. They will adapt to our defenses. We need to plan a proactive strategy if we want to turn this encounter to our advantage." Virin leaned back, her eyes narrow. "What do you propose, Kane?" Elias paused, looking at the planet below. The towers reflected the twin suns like mirrors, and the shadows they cast seemed to move with intention. "We need to understand their strategy first," he said. "We cannot simply react. We need to observe, record, and analyze their patterns. Then we exploit their predictability while maintaining flexibility in our response." The captain hesitated, then nodded. "Very well. You take command of tactical observation. Tirak will assist you. Prepare the crew for a potential second wave, and keep them ready to act on your orders." Elias moved quickly, setting up observation posts across the ship. He analyzed the energy readings, the drone movements, and the faint signals from the towers. Slowly, a pattern emerged, a rhythm that was not obvious but consistent enough to be predicted. The alien leader was using the drones to probe weaknesses, seeking an opening. By mid-cycle, Elias had a plan. He called a meeting with the senior officers. "We are outnumbered," he said calmly, "but numbers are meaningless without strategy. The aliens assume we are weak, slow, and predictable. We will prove them wrong. Our advantage lies in adaptability, intelligence, and unconventional thinking." The officers listened intently, some skeptical, others curious. Elias outlined his plan. They would use the drones' aggression against them, funneling them into controlled zones where the ship's newly calibrated pulse cannons could neutralize them efficiently. The humans would take on key tactical positions, coordinating movement, and controlling energy output with precision that even the alien crew could not match. Tirak, the four-armed communications officer, raised a question. "And if the alien leader anticipates this?" Elias smiled faintly. "Then we adapt again. Humans thrive on adaptation. We do not follow a single plan. We improvise, predict, and adjust continuously. That is our strength." As the ship prepared, the drones surged from the towers below in greater numbers than before. Elias remained calm, his eyes scanning the displays, calculating trajectories, energy outputs, and environmental variables. Every movement was deliberate, every adjustment precise. The first wave collided with the ship's defenses, but Elias had prepared for this. Pulse cannons fired in sequence, disabling multiple drones while diverting incoming attacks through energy shields and evasive maneuvers. The alien crew gasped, realizing that the humans were not merely reacting, they were controlling the battlefield. Elias noticed something subtle in the patterns of the drones. Their coordination was changing slightly, as if the alien leader was learning from their first encounter. He adjusted the ship's movement, anticipating the shift, and deployed secondary countermeasures. Drones were neutralized before they could reach effective range, and some were forced to crash into the planet below. The captain watched in amazement. "I've never seen such precision," she said quietly. "You are extraordinary, Kane." He said nothing, focused on the battle. Praise was unnecessary. Survival and victory required attention, not ego. Hours passed, each wave of drones more complex than the last. Yet under Ilya's guidance, the humans adapted. They learned to read the subtle signs of drone behavior, the changes in energy pulses, and the timing of the attacks. Where the aliens expected chaos, they found order, strategy, and relentless precision. In the midst of the chaos, Ilias observed the planet itself. The crystalline towers were not just structures. They were part of a network, a vast intelligence connecting the drones, the energy pulses, and the environment. He realized that the alien leader was not acting alone. The planet itself was a weapon. "Captain," he said, his voice steady despite the tension, "the towers are connected to the drones. The planet is a single, coordinated system. To truly defeat them, we must target the network, not individual drones." Viren frowned. "How do we do that without exposing ourselves to complete annihilation?" Ilias considered the options. "We use their overconfidence against them. The drones expect predictable responses. We create a pattern that seems flawed, drawing the drones into a controlled trap. Then we strike at the network core, using a concentrated pulse to disable the system." The officers exchanged nervous glances. It was risky, almost suicidal, but Ilia's confidence and clear reasoning were contagious. They agreed to follow his plan. The humans worked tirelessly, recalibrating the ship systems, adjusting energy flows, and coordinating with the alien crew who had begun to trust Ilia's judgment. As the trap was set, the next wave of drones descended. At first, the plan appeared fragile. Drones swarmed from all directions, converging on the ship. But Ilia's calculations held. The humans lured them into the designated zone, where concentrated pulses disabled the majority simultaneously. The alien crew watched in astonishment as Ilia's strategy unfolded with near-perfect execution. Yet the alien leader was not idle. From the towers, it observed, adapted, and responded. More drones surged, some equipped with energy shields that deflected attacks. Ilias adjusted again, predicting their moves, countering, and improvising. It was a battle of minds as much as technology, a duel between intelligence and instinct. Amid the battle, Ilias moved silently through the ship, assisting wherever needed. He recalibrated weapon systems, guided the crew through tactical maneuvers, and provided real-time calculations that allowed the humans to act faster than the alien attackers anticipated. The alien leader seemed to realize that its assumptions were wrong. Humans were not predictable, not weak, and not incapable. Each attack was met with a new defense, each adaptation countered by a faster, smarter response. The tide of the battle began to turn. By the end of the cycle, the drone numbers had diminished drastically. The planet below pulsed, but the energy signals were weaker, less coordinated. Ilias allowed himself a brief moment of satisfaction. The humans had survived, adapted, and begun to dominate the encounter. The alien crew approached Ilias cautiously. T-Rex spoke first, his multiple arms twitching nervously. "Human, you have changed the outcome of this battle. I did not expect this." Ilias gave a small nod. "We are often underestimated. That is our advantage." When underestimated, humans can observe, adapt, and strike in ways others do not anticipate. It is how we survive. Viren, standing behind Tirak, looked at Ilias with newfound respect. "You have not only saved this ship, but also changed how we see humans. You are more than an engineer, Kane. You are a strategist, a leader, perhaps even a hero." Ilias did not respond with words. He returned to the observation deck, scanning the planet below. The towers still pulsed, the alien leader still watched, but the humans had proven their capability. For the first time, the aliens were unsure. Underestimation was gone, replaced by caution and respect. As the crew took a moment to recover, Ilias reflected on the battle. This was more than a fight for survival. It was a lesson in the power of ingenuity, adaptability, and courage. Humans might be small in the galactic order, but their minds were formidable and their spirit unyielding. He also knew this was only the beginning. The alien leader would not surrender easily. It would observe, learn, and strike again. But Ilias was ready. He had seen the strengths of his crew, the adaptability of humans, and the opportunities that lay hidden in even the most dire circumstances. As night fell over the Viridian cluster, Elias stood silently at the observation deck. The stars stretched infinitely ahead, and the planet below shimmered with alien energy. The battle had been won, but the war was far from over. He turned to the captain. "We have shown them humans are not weak," he said. "But we must continue to adapt, continue to learn, and continue to fight. They will test us again, and we must be ready." Virin nodded. "You have taught us that underestimating humans is a mistake, Kane. We will follow your lead." Elias allowed himself a faint smile. It was a small victory, but an important one. Respect had been earned, not given, and in the galaxy, respect was a powerful tool. As the ship prepared for the next phase of observation, Elias felt a quiet sense of purpose. The humans aboard the Aurora's edge had begun to awaken to their potential. They were not merely passengers in the galaxy. They were participants, challengers, and perhaps, one day, leaders. The alien towers pulsed again, slower now, as if acknowledging the human's strength. The alien leader below remained unseen, but its intelligence was clear. It had underestimated humans once, and the consequences were evident. Elias Kane, the quiet engineer who had once walked unnoticed, had begun to change the perception of an entire species. And as the stars twinkled beyond the observation deck, he knew that humans, underestimated as they were, had only just begun to reveal their true power. The Viridian cluster was no longer just a mission, it was a proving ground. And humanity, under Elias Kane's guidance, was ready to rise. The Aurora's edge floated above the Viridian planet, its hull reflecting the shimmering light from the crystalline towers below. The calm after the previous battle was deceptive. Elias Kane knew that the alien leader had observed every move, learned from every strategy, and would now respond with greater force. The humans aboard the ship, once underestimated, had gained confidence, but Elias understood that confidence alone would not be enough. Ingenuity, precision, and courage would determine the next phase of this confrontation. He walked along the bridge, scanning the monitors. The alien towers pulsed rhythmically, their energy readings fluctuating in patterns that were almost human in their predictability. Elia's eyes narrowed. "They are preparing a coordinated assault," he said. "This time they will not rely on drones alone. They will attack directly, using both energy projections and environmental manipulation. We must anticipate and counter simultaneously." Captain Virin glanced at him, her tone betraying both awe and unease. "How can we possibly withstand a direct attack from a planetary-scale defense system?" Elias smiled faintly. "By not thinking like they expect, we will use their confidence against them. We will anticipate, adapt, and strike at their weaknesses. Humans excel at the unpredictable. That is our advantage." He moved quickly, issuing orders to the crew. Shields were reinforced, engines recalibrated for maximum maneuverability, and energy cannons synced for rapid response. Every adjustment was subtle, almost invisible, but each one enhanced the ship's resilience. Aliens who had once scoffed at human capability now watched silently, their earlier arrogance replaced by a quiet tension. Hours passed in preparation. The humans studied every signal, every fluctuation in the energy pulses. Elia's mind worked tirelessly, calculating probabilities, anticipating outcomes, and formulating contingencies. The alien leader below did not attack immediately, observing instead, perhaps underestimating the humans' capacity for adaptation once more. Then, without warning, the assault began. The crystalline towers fired beams of concentrated energy, striking at multiple points of the ship. Drones surged simultaneously from the planet's surface, moving faster and more strategically than before. Elia's crew reacted immediately, guided by his precise calculations. Shields flared as energy was absorbed, engines thrummed with adjustments, and pulse cannons fired with pinpoint accuracy. The first wave was intense, but Elia's planning held. He maneuvered the ship in patterns that drew the alien forces into disadvantageous positions. Drones collided, crashed, or were neutralized by energy pulses that struck with perfect timing. The alien leader's strategy began to falter as Elias exploited every weakness, turning their aggression against them. As the battle raged, humans began to act beyond mere reaction. Crew members who had once been hesitant now coordinated seamlessly, adjusting tactics based on real-time analysis. The aliens, who had relied on intimidation and technological superiority, found themselves surprised, their expectations shattered. Elias noticed a particular pattern in the energy beams from the towers, a slight delay between bursts, almost imperceptible but consistent. He calculated the timing and directed the ship's energy cannons to fire during the intervals, striking directly at the network nodes controlling the drones. Several towers flickered and went dark. The drones they commanded faltered, some collapsing midair, others crashing into the planet below. Captain Virin watched in disbelief. "I've never seen humans act with such precision and coordination," she said quietly. "It's as if they are more than what we assumed." Elias did not respond. He remained focused, aware that the alien leader was still active. The battle had been won in part, but victory was not complete. The true challenge remained, the alien entity commanding the planetary defenses. Using the temporary advantage, Elias devised a bold maneuver. He directed the Aurora's edge closer to the planet, moving into a position that exposed the network core of the crystalline towers. It was risky. Any miscalculation could result in catastrophic damage. But Elias' calculations were precise, and the humans trusted his judgment. The alien leader reacted immediately, sending waves of energy in concentrated bursts to intercept the ship. Elias adjusted continuously, weaving through the beams with a combination of skill and intuition that left the alien forces struggling to predict his movements. The humans aboard the ship acted with newfound confidence, executing commands flawlessly and maintaining coordination under intense pressure. Finally, Elias initiated the critical phase of his plan. Using the ship's synchronized pulse cannons, he fired a concentrated energy wave at the network core. The crystalline towers shuddered, their energy fluctuating wildly as the network destabilized. Drones went offline, beams of energy faltered, and the alien forces' coordination broke down. The alien leader, previously so composed and strategic, appeared confused, adapting to a situation it had not anticipated. Elias seized the moment. He directed the ship into a sweeping arc, targeting remaining network nodes with precision. The towers, once imposing and unassailable, began to collapse under the focused assault. Energy readings spiked and then dropped as the planetary defense system failed. The alien leader retreated into the shadows of the towers, and the drones ceased movement. The humans erupted with quiet celebration, their relief and pride evident. They had done what many had thought impossible. They had outsmarted a superior force using intellect, adaptability, and courage. The aliens who had doubted them now looked on with respect, their earlier scorn replaced by recognition of human ingenuity. Captain Virin approached Elias, her voice a mixture of admiration and astonishment. "You've done the impossible, Kane. You've turned a battle we should have lost into a victory. Humanity is stronger than we ever imagined." Elias nodded, though he did not allow himself to relax completely. The alien leader might have been defeated temporarily, but Elias knew the galaxy was vast, and challenges greater than this awaited. For now, however, the humans had proven their worth. He moved to the observation deck and looked down at the planet below. The crystalline towers lay in ruins, their energy dissipating into the atmosphere. The alien leader was gone, hidden perhaps, but the message was clear. Humanity could not be underestimated. The humans aboard the Aurora's edge, small and seemingly insignificant in the eyes of the galaxy, had risen to the occasion and demonstrated their power. The crew began repairing the ship, restoring systems damaged during the battle. Elias oversaw the process, ensuring efficiency and safety. He moved among the humans, offering guidance, encouragement, and support. Each action reinforced their confidence, transforming fear into determination and hesitation into resolve. As repairs continued, Elias reflected on the lessons learned. The battle had not been won by brute force or superior technology alone. It had been won by observation, adaptation, and the willingness to take calculated risks. Humans were underestimated not because they were weak, but because their strengths were invisible until tested. And when tested, they were formidable. The alien crew began to acknowledge this openly. Tirak, who had been skeptical at first, approached Elias with a rare smile. "Human," he said, I was wrong. You and your people are extraordinary. I will not forget this day." Elias allowed himself a faint smile. Recognition was satisfying, but it was not the goal. The true measure of success was the survival and growth of his crew, the demonstration of human capability, and the proof that underestimation carried consequences. Night fell over the Viridian cluster, the twin suns casting long shadows across the planet. The Aurora's edge floated above, repaired, functional, and ready for whatever came next. Elias knew that the alien leader might return, stronger, more cunning, but humanity had proven that it could face even the most formidable challenges. He walked through the corridors, checking on the humans. Some were exhausted but exhilarated, their spirits lifted by the knowledge that they had succeeded against overwhelming odds. Others were reflective, considering the implications of their actions and the potential of human ingenuity. Elias spoke quietly to each group, offering reassurance and guidance, reminding them that the future depended not on fear, but on courage, intelligence, and unity. The captain joined him once more on the observation deck. "Kane," she said softly, "you've changed the way we see humans forever. Your strategy, your insight, it is unlike anything I've encountered. The galaxy has underestimated humanity, but that will never happen again." Elias looked out at the stars, a quiet determination in his eyes. "They may have underestimated us in the past," he said, "but humans are not defined by what others believe. We are defined by what we do, by how we adapt, and by the strength of our spirit. This victory is just the beginning. The galaxy will know that underestimating humans is a mistake." The alien planet below remained silent, its towers destroyed, but its presence still a reminder of the challenges that awaited. Elias understood that the galaxy was vast, filled with intelligent species, some friendly, some hostile. Humans had proven their worth here, but greater tests were inevitable. For now, however, the Aurora's edge and its crew had survived, adapted, and triumphed. Humanity had begun to earn respect, not through force alone, but through intelligence, courage, and the willingness to face overwhelming odds with resolve. Elias Kane, the quiet engineer who had been overlooked and dismissed, had become the embodiment of human potential. The crew looked to him not just as a leader, but as an example of what humans could achieve when underestimated. And the galaxy, whether it realized it or not, would never again see humans as weak or insignificant. The Viridian cluster shimmered beneath them, a reminder of both victory and future challenges. Elias stood at the observation deck, gazing at the stars. The humans aboard the Aurora's edge had risen, their ingenuity and courage undeniable. And as long as Elias Kane led them, they would continue to defy expectations, proving that humanity's true strength lay not in size or technology, but in their mind, spirit, and will to survive. The battle had been won. The lesson had been delivered. And the galaxy, for the first time, began to understand that underestimating humans came at a price no one could afford. The Viridian cluster glimmered under the twin suns, the crystalline towers reduced to fragments of shattered light. The alien planet was quiet now, its defenses disabled, yet Elias Kane remained vigilant. Battles were never truly over until every threat had been understood and neutralized. He knew the alien leader below had retreated, not destroyed, and that it would return or signal for reinforcements. Humanity had proven its strength, but the galaxy was vast and challenges were endless. Elias walked through the corridors of the Aurora's edge, observing his crew. The humans were no longer timid or overlooked. They moved with confidence, their earlier fear replaced by pride and determination. Aliens who had doubted them now offered nods of respect, tentative but genuine. Elias allowed himself a quiet satisfaction. He had awakened something in his people, something that could not be measured by technology or stature, but by courage and ingenuity. He entered the main control room where Captain Virin was analyzing the residual energy readings from the planet. "Kane," she said, her tone more respectful than ever, "the planet's energy systems are offline. The towers no longer respond. You've effectively neutralized their defensive capabilities. Humanity has earned its place in this galaxy today." Elias shook his head slightly, a modest smile forming on his face. "We've survived today, Captain, but the galaxy is larger than this planet. The enemy may return, or others may rise to test us. What we've done is important, but it's only the beginning. Humans have shown our strength, but we must continue to prove ourselves." Virin nodded. "You've done more than prove strength. You've shown that intelligence, adaptability, and courage matter more than raw power. Humanity will be remembered for this." Elias allowed himself a brief moment to reflect on their journey. When he had first boarded the Aurora's edge, he had been underestimated, ignored, and dismissed. The aliens had seen humans as weak, fragile, and predictable. But now, after weeks of careful observation, precise strategy, and fearless execution, the perception had shifted. Humans were not merely survivors. They were thinkers, innovators, and, when necessary, warriors. The alien crew gathered in the main hall, a rare assembly, to formally acknowledge the humans' achievement. Tirak, usually brusque and skeptical, stepped forward. "I spoke too soon before," he said. "I believed humans were fragile and unworthy of command. Today you have proven me wrong. Humanity's ingenuity, courage, and resilience are unmatched in ways I had not imagined." The humans exchanged quiet smiles. Some were embarrassed by the praise, others simply proud. Elias, standing slightly apart, observed their reactions with satisfaction. He had not sought recognition, but it was impossible to ignore the change in morale. Respect had been earned, not given, and it would last far longer than the moment of victory. Yet, Elia's mind remained focused on the future. The alien leader who had orchestrated the defenses had not been destroyed. Its intelligence still lingered somewhere in the shadows of the planet, perhaps sending signals into the wider galaxy. Humans had won this battle, but the war for recognition and survival in the cosmos was ongoing. He knew the galaxy would continue to underestimate them until they demonstrated humanity's full potential. The captain approached him. "Kane, what do you suggest? Should we leave immediately or remain in orbit to monitor any further threats?" Elias considered the options. "We should remain for a short time," he said. "We need to gather data, understand the full extent of their technology, and anticipate any possible retaliation. But our position must remain mobile. The galaxy is unpredictable, and we cannot afford complacency." He moved to the observation deck, gazing at the planet below. Fragments of crystalline towers floated in the thin atmosphere, reflecting the sunlight in dazzling patterns. There was beauty in their destruction, yet a reminder that intelligence was still present, even if temporarily subdued. Elia's mind raced with possibilities, how the alien technology could be studied, adapted, and perhaps even improved upon. "Human," Tirek said from behind him, "how do you remain so calm? The enemy is powerful, and yet you act with certainty as if you know the outcome before it happens." Elias smiled faintly. "I don't know the outcome," he said. "But humans have a way of thinking differently, seeing patterns others miss and adapting faster than expected. That's why we survive. That's why we succeed. It's not strength alone that wins battles, it's intelligence, courage, and persistence." The aliens listened silently, their skepticism replaced with understanding. Humanity's reputation was changing, not through force, but through proof of capability. The galaxy, long dismissive of humans, was beginning to take notice. Meanwhile, the crew worked tirelessly to repair the Aurora's edge. Systems that had been damaged during the battle were restored, shields reinforced, and energy cores stabilized. Humans took initiative in repairs, demonstrating skill, speed, and efficiency that impressed even the alien technicians. Every action reinforced the lesson: underestimate humans at your peril. Elias oversaw the process, ensuring that efficiency did not compromise safety. He moved among his people, offering guidance and encouragement, quietly teaching them that their potential was greater than any of them had imagined. The crew responded with renewed confidence, understanding that they were capable of more than survival. They were capable of excellence. As repairs progressed, a faint energy signal appeared on the sensors, originating from the far side of the planet. Elias immediately analyzed it. "It's residual," he said. "The alien leader is attempting to stabilize some systems, perhaps signaling others. It's weak, but it exists. We must remain alert." Captain Virin frowned. "Are you suggesting the threat is not over?" Elias shook his head slightly. "Not yet, but it is manageable. Humans have proven their ability to adapt. We will monitor, respond, and ensure that our survival is not threatened." The crew gathered once more, this time for a debriefing. Elias spoke to them, his voice steady and inspiring. "Today, we faced an enemy far stronger than ourselves, with technology beyond our initial understanding. Yet we adapted. We observed, we calculated, and we acted with precision. We proved that humans are not weak, not fragile, and not to be underestimated. This is not the end. It is the beginning. A beginning where humanity claims its place in the galaxy not by size or power, but by ingenuity, courage, and determination. The humans listened, inspired by his words. The aliens who had once doubted them nodded in agreement, acknowledging the undeniable truth. Humanity had earned respect not by titles or intimidation, but through action, intelligence, and the refusal to accept limitations imposed by others. As the twin suns set over the Viridian cluster, Elias remained at the observation deck. The stars stretched infinitely, a reminder of the vastness of the galaxy and the countless challenges yet to come. The battle had been won, but humanity's journey was only beginning. A faint signal flickered across the ship's sensors, originating from the remnants of the alien towers. Elias analyzed it quickly. It was a message, or perhaps a warning, sent before the systems went offline. The alien leader had survived, and it was now aware of humanity's capabilities. Elias allowed himself a small smile. The galaxy had begun to take notice. "Captain," he said, "the alien leader knows we are capable. It will think twice before underestimating humans again. And for those who do, the consequences will be clear." Virin nodded, her eyes reflecting both relief and respect. "You've changed everything, Kane, not just for this battle, but for how humanity will be seen across the galaxy." Elia's gaze returned to the stars. "We are underestimated because the galaxy does not understand us yet, but we will show them. Humans survive, adapt, and overcome. Today, we have proven it. Tomorrow, we will continue to prove it. And the galaxy will learn that underestimating a human is always a mistake." The crew worked late into the night, repairing systems, restoring energy, and ensuring the ship's readiness for any future encounters. Elias moved among them, quietly instructing, observing, and guiding. Each human's confidence grew, each alien's respect deepened, and the lessons of the battle solidified into a permanent understanding. Humans were not to be dismissed. Finally, as the ship stabilized and systems reached full capacity, Elias allowed himself a moment of reflection. The Viridian cluster lay beneath them, a silent witness to humanity's triumph. The alien leader remained hidden, but the humans had proven themselves capable of facing the most intelligent and strategic threats the galaxy had presented. Elias turned to the captain. "We should set a course for the next mission," he said. "The galaxy is vast and there are challenges waiting, but now humans are ready for them, and we will meet them with intelligence, courage, and determination." Virin smiled, a genuine expression of admiration. "Lead the way, Kane. Humanity has earned its place in the stars." Elias Kane looked out at the stars, the twin suns of the Viridian cluster casting their light across the shattered towers. The humans aboard the Aurora's edge had risen, no longer underestimated, no longer dismissed. They had proven that intellect, courage, and adaptability were far more powerful than brute strength alone. The galaxy would remember this day. The alien leader had learned a lesson that no one aboard the Aurora's edge would forget. Humans were not weak. Humans were not fragile. Humans were a force to be reckoned with. And Elias Kane, once a quiet engineer overlooked by all, had become the symbol of that truth. Humanity's journey among the stars was only beginning, and the universe would soon learn that underestimating a human was always, always a mistake.